This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
What about the kids this summer? Welcome back to another edition of Real Answers, a regular Wednesday feature. During the Family Life Noon Report, we discuss the issues that matter to families with licensed mental health counselor Christopher Anderson. Welcome back, Chris.
Always good to be here, Mark.
Always great to have you. Well, with winter weather's return this week, feels a little weird, but also nice to turn our thoughts to summer for at least a few minutes, and specifically having a good game plan for our kids this summer, because even though school takes the summer off, learning really shouldn't.
No, it shouldn't, and maybe by talking about this now with the weather the way it is outside, maybe we'll somehow encourage that nice warm weather to come back.
Can only hope, man. I guess one big key here of many is making sure that summer is, more about sunscreen than electronic screens.
That's a good way to put it. Yes, sunscreen is a very good screen to engage your children in. So we're talking about this topic, and I kind of hesitated at first since it is pretty early here and technically not even spring yet. But the reality is this is one of those things that if we don't really give it some thought and think about how we're going to prepare for that time when our children are home during the summer, that we might not actually do it, and then we'll just be flying kind of on a whim and a fancy, really. But this is something to really give thought to, again, with the increasing emphasis on reducing screen time, especially from our children. Then this is now the time to start thinking about, well, what can you do with your children and help keep them involved mentally in their day, not just blindly and mindlessly staring at a screen. And the two areas that we're going to discuss today, again, are what are some things you can get your children to do, as well as the importance of having a consistent schedule with your children and the benefits of that.
Yeah, with all the things that our kids face these days, I think back to, when we're kids, a lot of parents would just kind of seed the summer, school's out, okay, go out, play. There wasn't really planning, very limited planning into what kids were going to be doing that summer. But these days, I think you really have to be intentional.
Absolutely. And of course, back when we were growing up, Mark, we didn't have excessive screen times. We did have a television, and if you had the 13 channels of cable TV back then, you could still spend too much time in front of it. But nowadays, again, with social media and now AI and constant bombardment by not just advertisements, but by strangers, really, through social media platforms. It's, of course, as you were saying, it's more important than ever now to be very vigilant about that. But, if you really stop and think about it, this whole dynamic of kind of taking steps backwards in learning has been around for a very long time. But I just think nowadays there's more conversation about it in a good way. I mean, there should be more conversation about it and how to maintain what your children are learning in school so that they don't have that big step backwards in the summertime.
You're listening to Real Answers. I'm Mark Webster, along with licensed mental health counselor Christopher Anderson. Today we're talking summertime and how to prepare your kids for a quality summer. All right, well, let's dive in a little deeper. You mentioned a couple of key points here that parents probably would be wise to keep in mind as they look ahead to summer. What are some of those?
Well, the first thing is to have your children on a schedule. I think it's a fantastic idea as parents to have some sort of a daily devotional time with your children in the mornings, but then also take the time to plan out at some point during the day, when would it be a good time for your children to engage in some sort of a learning activity. A couple things that come to mind. There are lots of activities that are self-directed. In other words, like here at our house, my family, we call them the yellow box activities, and there are several shoebox-sized hard plastic containers with a yellow lid on them, and inside each container there's a different activity, and we can tell our boys, it's time to go grab a yellow box, go ahead and choose a yellow box and engage in that activity, and that gives the parents time, if needed, to do other things around the house. For me, it's cleaning up the kitchen a lot of times, or cleaning up after the kids. Yeah, they're not plopped in front of the TV. They're still engaging in an activity that they can be stimulating themselves mentally. And whether that's a hands-on skill, such as a puzzle or coloring books, or doing some other kind of an art project. Or it can be something else, like playing a game. I mean, we've got this really cool magnet game that they have to play, but they can do it independently. So those are some things that you can be thinking about now. Like, do you have some of these activities that you can then engage your children in the summertime during quote-unquote yellow box time? And again, that allows them to stay stimulated and also allows you to turn off the screen at the same time.
Right. And I guess certainly it's summertime, you got to grab it while you can around here. So outdoor activities certainly got to figure prominently into there as well.
Oh, absolutely. There might be some outdoor activities that they can engage in. Now, of course, everybody has different environments around their house with varying degrees of activities available to them. I live out in the country, so we've got, creeks and streams and a pond and all sorts of outdoors nature type activities that, depending on the age of your children, they might be able to engage in some of those things without direct supervision, of course. Be careful if you got water involved. But definitely outdoors, get them outside, get them running around as much as you can. And ultimately, these activities are all meant to help stimulate learning, but also preserve what they have learned over the school year. Something else that we can do, that anybody can really do, is consult with your children's teachers and find out if they have any recommendations for, let's say, workbooks or anything else that the children can do to maintain what they've learned in preparation for the next upcoming year. You're going to get some pushback from your children, but if you get them into a routine, on a schedule, something that's very consistent, that will kind of help prime them. They'll know that it's coming and help keep them from being too disagreeable, if you will, with the activities that you want to engage them in. So that schedule, planning out their day so that the children know, okay, we're going to have devotions after breakfast. And then you're going to engage in a yellow box activity or a workbook activity for a period of time. And then you'll go outside. That consistency is really key and it's really beneficial for children. Then they know what to anticipate and they're not surprised. And you'll be amazed at how once they get into that routine, it's a lot easier to encourage them to do that.
Yeah, and it will pay dividends if we project one season further to fall when they head back to school. It won't be an utter shock to the system to actually maintain some of that learning and discipline.
They will, and it won't be as difficult of a transition back. Again, right now, even though it's still early in the season, it's not too early to start looking for some of those activities. Once again, utilize your teachers in the schools for any kind of ideas as well that they might have, and I got a feeling they're going to thank you for it.
Oh yeah, no doubt. You've been listening to Real Answers, a Wednesday feature of the Family Life Noon Report, where we discuss the issues important to families with licensed mental health counselor Christopher Anderson. Thanks again, Chris.
Thank you so much, Mark.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.